Aha! That might be what this show is about.
It's awareness, It's
There it
like
is.
we all have blind spots, right? And I think by listening to this show, you might identify some blind spots that you maybe never even knew about.
Oh man. It's the beginning. Episode 0, Quest for Keys. Hone
This is
Tai,
episode 0.
Alvin Hoan. How cool. This was a long time in the making. We talked about this for how many months now? 3, 4,
Oh,
6?
I don't know, man. I think you've been hitting me up on starting a podcast since last year.
Yeah.
And I've been reluctant just because I didn't know if I had a lot of time or commitment. But at the same time, like, man, it's a new challenge, man. It's a new dragon for me to chase. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
All right. So now let's talk about that, right? Before we get into episode 0 and talking about what this podcast is, what key did you need to unlock or what key did you need to unlock which door to have you eventually say yes to doing this podcast? Like, what were you afraid of? What was keeping you back?
Well, it's interesting because I've always been the stealth wealth guy, right? Like I didn't want to be in front of people. I just want to do my own thing. And then finally I realized, look, I can offer so much more. And a lot of people really gravitated towards my story and all these things is because, I was able to just, you know, be fully authentic, right? And I affected so many lives that way. And they're like, hey man, you should really be telling your story. This is something. So I decided then, like, let's just try this out. And I started with the social media. And now, I gotten comfortable with social media. And all of a sudden, I'm like, you know what? Let's take this to the next level. And here you go again, asking me a couple of weeks ago, like, hey, let's really start this podcast. I'm like,
Right.
uh, okay. And I just happen to just throw myself in there all the time. I just want to go test it out, see if it works out, and hopefully I'm able to slay that dragon.
Right, right. Well, I'm excited that you finally said yes. And I'm excited that we're finally doing this, creating the Quest for Keys podcast, episode 0. Alvin, this podcast is dedicated towards helping people on their journey. Everybody's on a journey, but this is helping other people who are on a journey to figure out how extraordinary people have unlocked different doors for themselves, how they found keys to unlock these doors to get to that next level, to that next step. So, my question is this is kind of a personal one, right? But it's why would we be qualified to be the ones to even host this podcast? Why is it that our story, our journey is worthy for other people to listen to? What would you say about that?
Here's my thought on this. We're ordinary people, right? You and I, we're just like everybody else. We just happen to have had all these experiences that kind of led us to a path where we're able to unlock certain keys.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I don't think I'm extraordinary, to be honest. I just happen to just try different things, unlock different keys along the way, and like, hey, it worked out. So
Yeah.
I think this show is all about just making sure that we are good examples to people, and maybe you can have guests in here that would, you know, that people can hear stories about.
Right. Okay. So being that this is episode 0 and most people don't know who we are, right? I will share the unhumble side of it. So Alvin's being super humble. I'm not extraordinary. All that stuff. Um, Alvin and I met because we are both a part of this group called GoBundance, where in order to be a member, you need to be a multimillionaire. And so Alvin and I are both multimillionaire business people who are constantly looking to get to that next level, even though where we are is pretty great and where we are now would be a goal for many people. But we're always looking to get to new heights. And then we also get to meet extraordinary people who are also getting to new heights. And we get to learn from each other. And that's why we are in the group GoBundance, because we wanted to meet other people like that. And so now what we're doing is we're creating this podcast so that you guys can get an inside look of the life that we get to live, as well as the lives that the other people get to live, and figure out how you guys can carve your own path based on the lessons learned from other people. Everybody is dealing with what Alvin calls dragons, right? These are your fears, these are your obstacles, these are your barriers. And everybody figures out how to overcome their personal dragon in their own way. But what's great
Mhm.
is by listening to other people and how they overcome their dragons, then you too get to kind of like speed through it all, right? This is the shortcut. By listening to this podcast, hopefully we help you guys get to your goals way faster. Pretty
Well
good.
said, man. I couldn't I couldn't have said it a better way.
I'm glad we're recording. So guys, this episode 0, Alvin was super nervous. I mean, I was super nervous in the beginning when we first talked about it, but man, we're like 6 months into discussing this thing and here we are. So my nerves are gone. I'm like, all right, let's do this. Let's add value to people. So I'm a real estate investor as well as I do a whole host of other things. Alvin as well. I'll let Alvin share what he's up to, but I'm a real estate investor. I also teach people how to invest in real estate. And once I teach them how to invest in real estate, I also provide them with different resources like contractors, also the money. So I'll lend them money on their deals or I will partner with them. I also have ties with franchises. I also do some insurance brokering. So I got my hands in a bunch of different things. I keep trying a whole bunch of things. I keep reinventing myself over and over and over. It's almost like I just wanted to prove to myself that I can do it because I was the youngest of 3 kids, so I was always looked at as the baby, as the jokester, as the person you don't take seriously. So it's almost like I had to prove to the world that I am worthy of love. I am worthy of the world. I am here. Hear me roar, kind of thing. So I was like, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And I tried so many things and I never let any of the fears get in my way. And in order to actually get over the fears, a lot of time I would just take action before my fear would be large enough to stop me. So fire, aim, ready would be my motto. I would just jump in, take the action, and figure it out as I went along. And for most things, that served me. Now, some things you want to take your time and kind of prepare and not just jump in so you minimize mistakes. But for most things, just jumping into the thing and learning on the fly, that served me and I got progress. And then I could, after firing, I could aim, right? After firing, I could then aim. I could see what I got wrong. I could see what I got right. I could aim. And then before you know it, then I was ready. So hence fire, aim, ready. That's how I ended up having all of these different businesses. That's why I have all of the skills that I have to run these businesses. And that's why I am qualified to be on the same program as the mighty Alvin here, because Alvin is quite the superstar if you guys don't know who he is. But I will let Alvin share all of the things that he's up to and what makes him qualified to speak on this podcast. So, Alvin, would you mind sharing with the people listening who you are and what you got going on?
Dude, that's a very tough act to follow, man. You just like spill it all out. That's awesome, man. I can't do that. It takes me a while to kind of think about what to say and how to say it. But here you
Fire,
go.
fire, aim, ready, baby.
All right, man. So a little bit about me. So I'm an immigrant. So I came here with my parents when I was 12. So I just went through different journeys in my life, different pivots in my life, and I've started businesses here and there. And actually went to college, but dropped out and decided along the way, like, you know what, college isn't for me. I'm just going to start a business. So I started doing businesses with all the goal. My main goal was to buy real estate. And so I ended up starting all these businesses just so I could afford real estate. Got a W 2 in the beginning. That didn't really work out for me because I knew I didn't do well with authority. So, I decided to just start a business on my own. Next thing you know, I was making all this money and started buying more real estate. Along the way, I met my wife and we started buying more real estate, starting other businesses. I owned a design agency at one point. Now also started a toy company at one point. I was on Shark Tank for that, did a pitch, was offered $1 million buyout, ended up walking away from it because we just didn't think it was a good deal. And, here I am, just like 2019 happened, another pivot happened,
Hmm.
COVID happened 2020, and I decided then, look, what's keeping me afloat right now? And it's real estate. And I decided then, hey, let's just pivot, go 100% in real estate. So now I'm a developer. I'm actually, building ADUs in LA. in California, where a lot of people think don't invest in California. It's a terrible state. I know Hone is looking at me right now thinking like, yeah, don't invest in California. It's a terrible state to invest in. But I will tell you right now, I believe that California is one of the best states to invest in because of appreciation. And you just got to be able to be creative about how you tackle real estate here because there's a way to capitalize on certain things here just to make sure you can actually cash flow and build equity. And I like that challenge, man. I like dragons. I always
Dude.
constantly I chase after my dragons, man.
Every time I
It's
hear
a
about
thing.
every time I hear about you investing in California, I'm just like, how in the world? But guys, Alvin has made millions and millions of dollars investing in California, like currently, like in this market, 2024. If you're listening to this, right, we're in the year 2024. In all of the years previously till now, he's still developing in California and still kicking butt and taking names. So that's a hell of a dragon because if you listen to most real estate investors, they'll say, stay away from New York, stay away from California. And Alvin's like, all right, bring it. Bring it.
Well,
I'm
look,
gonna take
man. There's the more stigma there is. That means just less competition. So
that's true.
if you're able to kind of break through those barriers, you'll win all day.
There's a key
It's
right
it's it,
there.
it's a niche. You just have to just figure it out.
Is that a key right there? That if there's a lot of obstacles, if there's a big barrier or moat and you can just figure your way in, once you're in there, I mean, you got all upside. You got a huge upside because nobody else is playing in that sandbox of yours.
Yeah, and
That's
it's what I say. I joke about this, but California is where the big boys play.
ooh, challenge. Ooh, all right, all right. So, if I mean, look, this is episode 0. This is supposed to be all about, like, what it is that this show is, but I would like to dive into this a little bit for the listeners,
Um,
right? If
Maybe
somebody
we'll
was
do episode 1 for that one. Let's
okay,
dive into
all right. I
episode
wanted
1
I
that.
wanted to dive in. You guys listening, you guys are gonna come back. You're gonna have to come back, listen to episode 1 because again, this is episode 0. All right. So fine. Then what would you say, right? What would you say that or who would you say that this podcast is intended for? Who should be listening? Is this business owners? Is this 9 to 5 employees? Is this other Asian American men? Is this like where are we going at with this? Who should be listening to this podcast? Who do you think?
I think this is actually for everybody, because when you start thinking about Quest for Keys, right? The initial thing that comes to your mind is like, oh, this is another real estate show. Well, I don't think so. Here's the thing that you and I have discovered in GoBundance, right? That there's all these different pillars. You got your health, you got your wealth, you got your relationships. I mean, those are the big three. And then you got
Right?
your spirituality, you got the business on the side, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's like we all are able to unlock different keys that kind of set us in that journey to the right path, right? So I think this is for everyday people. A lot of people are getting stuck in their own ways. A lot of people are stuck in their own identity, and I think that there's room for improvement only because we don't know. We're there's a lot of um, there's a lot of thought in our head that keeps us from actually leveling up.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. Okay, so this is why we're going to be good podcast hosts together because you're going to say something and I'm going to disagree and I'm going to have my own angle, right? Because if we just both jived on that same, it'd be like, what's the conversation here? It's just two people echoing off of each other. My thoughts are if it's for everyone, then it is for no one. We have to
Mm,
serve a particular niche, right? We have to like really hone, right? You like that? You really got to hone in on who our target demographic is, deliver to them the aha moments, the eureka moments, and then other people will then start to buy in and then it'll be cool. But we have to start Amazon style with books and then go from books to CDs and then and then we can be the everything store, but not initially. Though I agree with you that everyone could benefit from this, sure. But I think that there's a level of what's the word? Uh, Specificity or whatever. It's like, how do we be specific? How do we target a certain demographics pain points, give them the value that they're looking for. Maybe it's entrepreneurs looking to do more business, or it's a real estate investor who's like trying to crack a new market or invest out of state or whatever it is. How do we serve them? And then what happens is the lessons that they learn can be reconfigured to apply to all parts of their life. We give them a business lesson and then they apply it to their marriage, their parenthood, their all of that kind of stuff. So I
Well,
I think
I actually think that there's also the other way around, right?
yeah, of
Where,
course you do.
it all starts internally. And this is why you can't be a really good businessman unless you're stabilized everywhere else, right? So unlocking yourself first is, I think, the most important key. Because you can't be a good businessman unless completely are completely aware of your strengths and your weaknesses.
If we define good businessman or good business person, woman, whatever, right, as somebody who's financially successful and has a business that's like booming and millions and billions of dollars or whatever, then there are
Mhm.
plenty of good and great businessmen and women who have terrible marriages, who've never seen their kids, who are estranged, whatever. Everything around them has imploded, but their business is rocking. So you see it one way, I see it another way. I think, though, ideally, you want everything to be good. You want all of it to be good. You want your home life to be great. You want your business
You
to
want
be good.
everything to balance.
You do. You do.
That's the right word right there. I think balance, right? Because you're right. There's a lot of good businessmen, right? I was in that journey once too, where I was great with having all my business. Everything was on fire there. But then my relationship, I didn't have much relationship with my kids, didn't have much relationship with my wife because I was always working. And
Okay.
so I think this is one of those things where, you have different pillars in your life that you got to find keys for to make sure they're balanced. And this is why I certainly think that this is for everybody because not everybody wants to be in business. Not everybody wants to be a businessman. I just want someone to be listening to this and get inspired. If they choose they want to be in business, that's great. They choose to just want to be an investor, that's great. But I think this is for everybody, man. Like we're gonna have guests here, I believe, at some point that's probably gonna be about relationships, being able to unlock different things in relationships. I think relationship is probably the most important pillar there is.
All right. Now that you're saying that, I got a couple of people in mind who I think we can bring on that are not business focused, that like business is the last thing that they wanna focus on. It's being the best version of themselves kind of people, right?
Yep.
We can bring them on, and then the business people who will be listening to this, because I think a lot of our colleagues will be listening to this, they are gonna be business focused, but then they can take away that kind of key, that gem, if you will, from the lessons around being a better person, being a better man, being a better woman, being whoever, right? Just a better person
Being better
overall.
husband, being a better father. I mean, it's all
Right,
it's all of the above, right?
right. What makes you uniquely qualified to host a show is what you said earlier, which is you're in business and you weren't necessarily the best in your relationships. And so you had to figure that one out, right? That what
that's exactly it.
how did you figure that one out? Because there's a lot of people who are listening to this who don't have good relationships, right? They or it could be improved. Let's just say that. Everybody has some level of relationship and everybody can improve. So what did you do? How did you get over that hump?
I actually wasn't even aware of it, to be honest. Like
Ooh,
when
that's
I
good.
first, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like I spent years I knew something was missing. I couldn't figure out what it was. You know, growing up, I didn't really have much of I would say, father figure. My dad was around. He provided, typical Asian culture, like,
Yeah.
providing food and shelter. He was working all the time. Didn't really foster that father son relationship. So I didn't have, that stuff. I didn't have that right framework. But I knew something was gnawing at me because I knew that was very important to me. And so I focused on my business, focused on just scaling, and I knew something was missing. I knew something was missing. I just didn't know until I joined GoBundance. And GoBundance just kind of like my first event, man. It blew my mind. I had such clarity after that, and I started just focusing on changing my framework.
Yeah.
And ever since I did that, man, everything just blossomed. I started focusing on relationships. Is why I think relationships are really important. I started focusing on relationships. Next thing you know, everything just leveled up, even the business. And I wasn't even trying as hard as I used to. And everything just started leveling up.
Got it. That's funny. So this is not a GoBundance commercial, but it is a good organization that Alvin and I are both in. And it's funny. My very first national GoBundance event that I went to is when I met you. So I met you at my very first meeting. So look at that. You're a part of me leveling up and getting new frameworks and all that kind of stuff. I had no idea who you were, didn't know you were on Shark Tank, nothing. Uh, but I quickly became an Alvin fanboy, and now I here we are, however long ago that was, doing a podcast together. So my life is already getting better. I already unlocked the key right there. Happiness created podcasting with Alvin.
Oh my gosh. Let's not go that far.
Yeah. Okay, so you went to this thing, you have this new framework, but you didn't even know that you had a problem per se. You were just like, yeah, I'm providing. Look, my upbringing, my dad, I'm doing what my dad did. That's my example there. I'm killing it. And then you went, oh, there's another way. So aha, that might be what this show is about.
It's awareness. It's
There it
like
is. There it
it's
is.
awareness.
Awareness. Yes.
We all have blind spots, right? And I think by listening to this show, you might identify some blind spots that you maybe never even knew about, right? Because I'm always open to listening to other people's story, and this is going to be what I think this podcast is going to be about. Is we're going to have guests in here that they're going to have different stories, but along the way, they probably unlocked the path with a key that led into the next level, whatever that is, different path, pivoted, that made them a better person, maybe a better husband, maybe a better father, maybe a better businessman, maybe better everything. Maybe they're just looking for new adventures that they didn't even realize. For example, like me, like I didn't realize then, like I actually was missing a lot of adventure in my life. Like I didn't travel much because I was always working. And when I was able to just hang out with a bunch of other guys that just look seeking adventure, I knew that was missing. And I'm like, whoa, that's a blind spot I wasn't even aware of.
That's funny because now you're almost traveling too much. And I'm like, dude, when can I get some time with you on the phone? When can I get some time with you on Zoom? You're like, I'm in Morocco. I'm in this country. I'm in that country. I'm like, all right, I'll see you in a month, I guess.
But what's cool about that, right? Because I jumped right in, like I'm gonna try this out, see what happens. But it also forced me to figure out how I can run my businesses without me being there every day.
It's
So
true.
it unlocked a different key for me. We're like, wow, what's the next level here?
Yeah.
Just when I knew then, like, okay, if I'm gonna be traveling in 2024, right? If I can afford 2 weeks to travel, what would that look like? And so I got an executive assistant. I'm like, oh, that unlocked more time for me. I was able to buy more time. And she was checking my emails. She was basically booking my calendars and everything like that. It unlocked it, right? So anytime you choose to do something, it forces you to change your framework a little bit. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And then also, anytime you choose something, you're also not choosing something else. So you're like, if I choose to travel for 2 weeks and not work, that means I'm also choosing to not work, right? I'm choosing to travel, which means I'm choosing to not work. So in order to choose to not work, how do I ensure the work still gets done? And then you can pick up a key that allows you to unlock that freedom, which is pretty cool. And guys, if you notice, we keep going back to this idea of finding these keys. Some people will call them gems or tidbits or tips or whatever. We're calling them keys. This is our theme for this whole entire podcast. So it's a quest for keys, which means that there are going to be a bunch of keys that you are going to find along your way on your quest. You're going to find a whole bunch of keys that will unlock the different things that you're looking for and to unlock the things you didn't even know you were looking for. To Alvin's point, this podcast is going to give you awareness, right? Awareness of ways of being that you didn't even realize were out there. You didn't realize that you could become a multimillionaire that traveled the world and have your business running all the while being a good husband and good father. Like, that's a pretty cool life, but a lot of people think it's unobtainable just because they're like, "Oh no, I have to work. If it's not for me, then who will it be?" That kind of thing, that kind of mentality. And Alvin's like, "No, you just got to find that key, that right key to unlock it, whether it's to hire an executive assistant, whether it's to implement technology and systems so that your business runs without you." So there's a lot of keys. Again, some people call them gems, some people call them tips, whatever. We have our theme. So for all of you guys wondering what this podcast is, because that's what we were wondering. That's why we're recording right now, because I figured let's record and we will figure it out along with you guys what this podcast is. So
That's
what
right.
is it? Yeah,
I mean,
it's
we're
awareness.
right now we're trying to unlock the key to this podcast, right?
There it is.
Where's this going to lead us, right? And it's all about just finding. It's not just even just one key. You're going to be collecting all these keys, but once you have that key, man, you're able to unlock that door anytime. You now have control over it, and
Right.
I think that's the power of like finding this little tips or keys to unlock different doors. Because once you have it, man, it's in your back pocket. You might even be able to use that same key to unlock other doors. That's
I
the
was
other
just gonna
thing.
go there. I was just gonna go there. I was gonna say sometimes you might find a master key that opens up multiple doors.
That's right. Just like in business, right? Like for me, I was able to unlock, certain skill sets in one business that transferred over to this new business. But it's the
Right.
same. It's the same key. It unlocks the same door. It's that confidence. It's that skill set of being able to project manage, maybe being able to multitask. That's another key. Right now, like I started going to social media, and I'm like, man, last year I was like so afraid of it. But look at me now. Like, what is this? I'm in a podcast. I'm starting
Right.
my own podcast. What the hell? But it's the same key, right? It's the same
It is.
key. It's just now I'm finding another key to another door beyond that first door.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
I think in our journey in life, we're gonna find little doors. It's either you walk through it, you break through it, or you find a key to make things a little bit easier.
uh, Episode 0, it's all about figuring out these keys so that you can have a great life. Ultimately, I think that's what all of us are pursuing now. What's the definition of a great life? And everybody has a different definition, whether it's like, oh, I get to travel the world. Some people don't want to travel, right? But, maybe it's travel the world, or maybe just be the best father or husband. Maybe you don't have kids. Maybe you just be the best husband. Maybe you have a spouse. Maybe it's just be the best man you can be, whatever it is. So have a great life and learn from other people and get aspects of their life that you want to adopt. As the saying goes, right? If there's a whole bunch of geese walking past you, pluck a feather out of each one, but don't follow any one goose 100% kind of thing. So, you take a little tidbit from everybody's life and you create your own. And everybody's life is going to be unique in that sense. And so it's a good show to learn from people who have figured this different parts out. And one other thing, some people think like, "Oh, I want to create work life balance," right? Work life balance. In my opinion, it's not work life balance, it's work life balancing. It's a constantly changing target, moving target, and it's never going to be where, "Oh, I spend 8 hours at work and 8 hours at home." It's not always going to be 50-50 that way. It's a balancing act. Maybe you work 8 hours, but at home you can only spend 3 hours of quality time, but it still may be great. So, it's balancing, and only you, whoever you are listening, only you know what that right balance point is. So, Alvin, are you still nervous about this show?
I don't know. I'm more anxious now, to be honest, than anything else, but excited anxious.
What's really funny is you're wearing a black shirt or dark shirt and your background's all dark, and then I got this white shirt on and my background is really bright and it's like perfect. We are going to approach this from very
Hey, look,
different angles.
man. If you know, I guess you don't hang out around me enough, but I'm always wearing black. Like I've been wearing black since I was like in my 20s. Like I made it easy. Like all my clothes are black.
Like
I
your
get made fun
soul.
of. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but but it's more about just simplifying, right? Because I don't have to choose. Like I swear, like I got like maybe 25 black t-shirts, and it makes it easier for me. I don't have to
Yeah,
think about it. Another key that I unlocked of why I like
there
that,
you
just
go.
simplify it. One less thing for me to worry about and think about. So
By the way, Mark Zuckerberg was asked, like, "Why do you keep wearing the same shirt?" And then he came up with this answer where he's like, "If I don't spend any of my brain cells or brain power deciding on my clothes, then I have more to go put into Facebook." That kind of answer. Later, after that, he was interviewed again, and he said, that wasn't really true, but I wanted to create a cool answer. So that was the answer I gave. So it's not
you
true.
know, what's funny about that is that I've also heard that like yeah, he wears this regular T-shirt. He looks like he's just wearing a regular T-shirt,
Yeah.
right? But it's actually like $20,000 worth, something like that. It's an expensive brand that's just custom made for him.
Right. Each shirt's like $800 or something like that. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is
something
it
like
is a
that.
it's a high-end t-shirt. So though it's a t-shirt, it looks like this, it's $800 per
All right,
t-shirt.
800. I said 20,000.
20,000 is for his ensemble. It's for the rack. 20,000 for the rack of t-shirts. Yeah. So I buy mine in a 3-pack, so,
Dude, I just go to Target, man. I get the 4 or 5 pack for like $20. Like,
Yeah, yeah, that's what this
I got
is.
tons of them.
This is actually a Costco shirt. It's a Banana Republic shirt, but sold at Costco in a 3-pack, believe it or not. I didn't even know Banana Republic sold clothes at Costco, but I bought it. I was like, "Wow, this is nice." It fits me well. Feels good too.
Yeah, white looks good on you, man. Every time I wear white, I don't know, it makes me look weird. I'm
Young,
just not
makes
used.
you look young.
I'm, I don't know. I don't know, man. Like, I don't like seeing my nipples pop out. So,
There you
my
go.
my wife actually teases me all the time about wearing white shirt because, like, hey, I can see your nipples popping out. I'm like, damn.
Yep, yep. Then you're gonna have another kid. You have another kid because of that white
Well,
shirt.
let's. Hey, man, I would actually like another kid.
Oh.
The factory's closed. So
Life happens. Life can happen for you somehow, some way. It's like you
that
you might you
that
might
key
end up with
that
more.
that door will never be unlocked.
It,
That's
it's
one
well,
door that's
it's
completely
welded shut.
welded shut. That's it.
There you go. Yeah, but I like this theme. It's like a yin yang. You see things from one angle, I see things from another angle, and a lot of times in our conversation, it's been like that. Not recorded, just on the phone, but yeah, a lot of times you see things one way, I see it another way, and here's what's cool: both answers could be right. It just depends on who's listening and what situation they're applying it to. So
Team
again,
Alvin, though. Team Alvin, Team Hoan.
there you go. You guys, the listeners, you guys get to say like, "Oh, I'm Team Hone or Team Alvin," and you can wear a T-shirt with our face on it and saying like, "I like how Hone sees things," or "I like how Alvin sees things," and you know what? That's okay. Just like the political parties, right? We got two parties here, and you and I, East Coast, West Coast.
There
So
you go.
Alvin's on the West Coast, by the way. Alvin's on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast. Alvin is an old man. He's in his 50s. I'm only in my 40s, so very
Hey,
different outlook. Very different outlook. Now with that, Alvin's lived a decade more life than I have. So, he may have some wisdom that I don't yet have. And maybe that's the awareness that I will gain and learn from Alvin as we continue to do this show. I hope so. I want us to benefit from this show as well. I don't want just the listeners to benefit. I want us to benefit. Having great guests, I think, will help with that. And then also, we might be able to learn from each other, you and I.
of course. Of course.
Yeah.
I'm here to learn, man. I think life would be boring if you're not constantly learning.
So there you go. I think we're just a host of it. We're just the facilitators of the conversation. We're just the facilitators of the ideas that get thrown through this portal, this podcast. We're just going to be the ones who get the good, smart people who figured it all out. We're going to get them on the show, and we're going to learn from them, all of us together. We just get the benefit of asking the questions directly. So who actually, Alvin, now that we're going into it, anybody or any kind of industry or any what kind of guests do you think we're going to have on this show?
That's a good question. I think between you and I, we have a pretty vast network of people.
We sure
So,
do.
I think there's varied guests that we can get in here.
Yeah.
Doesn't all have to be real estate. Doesn't all have to be business. Like I said, I think there's ways to unlock different things that maybe people can relate to.
Yeah. But it's definitely going to be real estate people. It's definitely going to be business people. Uh, and I like bringing on business people and real estate investors because they overcame something huge. And it's this huge stigma of, "Oh my gosh, business is risky. Don't you know that?" And then they're fighting against the current of 9 to 5, 9 to 5. It's like, you know, 9 to 5ers, most of you work for someone who created a business. The only reason you have a job was because somebody took that risk and created the business that you're working at. But they don't see that part. They don't that part completely overlook that. Completely overlook that. So,
Again, it's awareness.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I like bringing on the entrepreneurs because it's like refreshing to be around these people who see life as full of opportunity. A lot of the 9 to 5 people, like, no offense to them, but a lot of times it's all doom and gloom. Whereas entrepreneurs are more optimistic. They see things from like, "Oh yeah, I can get that done. I can figure it out. Like if somebody else did it, then I can do it." It's like it's just it's just positivity, if you will. Like it's just like, "Yeah, I can do it," and it's always good to be around those kind of people.
But there's also a lot of people who are still in W-2s are are really entrepreneurs at heart. They just haven't taken that first step because they haven't found the key to actually take that first step. So,
Right.
I wouldn't say business people is the only thing. Like,
I
I
get
would say we're here to inspire people. Okay.
We are here to inspire people by bringing on the people who found the keys that they needed to unlock the doors so that they can actually go off on their own, right?
That's exactly it.
It's like one of those doors with a keyhole on both sides of the door. You're stuck in the 9 to 5. You got to find the key to go and leave the building, right? It's a fire hazard to have that lock on the inside, right? But that's they were able to find it. There are people who are 9 to 5 with entrepreneurship at their heart, like you said. Sure, they will get to listen and learn from the people who actually were able to find the key to unlock the door to let themselves out.
Yep.
So yeah, that's some good stuff. All right, episode 0, Alvin. I think we beat this one up. I think
I think we did.
maybe it's long-winded, or maybe we should just leave it be so that whoever's listening, they can pick out whatever they think is interesting. Who knows? We'll see. We'll listen to it. Maybe it's cut short. Maybe it's exactly this. No edits, just raw, right to you. Who knows?
So is this a wrap?
That's a wrap. That's the show. All right, guys. See you guys on episode 1. Hopefully, you guys enjoy this. Make sure you guys share this with your friends and family because this is going to be a good one. Just imagine it's like Joe Rogan, right? It's like Joe Rogan, but early, catching them early. You're one of the hip and cool kids now.
So what's episode 1 about?
Oh, oh, that's where
We
you.
we wanna know, I guess, we wanna tell the audience what episode 1's gonna be all about. Is it gonna be about Hone Zone?
I was gonna say it was gonna be all about Alvin and how he created tens of millions of dollars in real
Mm,
estate in crushing California, and how he was on Shark Tank, and how he did all of the cool things that he did. I think next episode will be the Alvin show. I'm interested in learning more about you.
alright.
You know,
We'll get
yeah.
the show Alvinized.
Yeah, Alvinized. Yeah, so guys, look forward to episode 1 where we're gonna go over Alvin's story, how he created tens of millions of dollars in all of the different business ventures, his history, his past, the keys that he had to find to unlock whatever doors that he unlocked so that he could be a fantastic human being. I didn't even want to say like, husband, father, this, that. I mean, just overall great human being. So, Alvin, I'm happy to be on this podcast with you. Thank you for doing episode 0, and let's rock it. Let's keep going.
Yep, that's gonna be fun, man. I'm excited now.
Yeah. All right. That's it, guys. See you in the next episode.
Peace.
Peace.